Steve,
did Gary get the truck today, Will?
I don't know. Well, he'll be here later, so we'll see. Steve Langevin just joined the call as well. It's 3:31, but I'm going to wait a few minutes until John fires in here. So I don't believe we can have a meeting without 2 selectmen present in person. So, who did I just admit that has a phone number of 662-4155?
I don't know. Maybe Julie can call John just to remind him or see if he's on his way or somebody.
Yeah.
Unless he's not, I'm sure he would have called if he wasn't there.
Yeah.
Hi Barb, Julie Quick just came on.
Thank you, Julie. I appreciate it. I just got your text.
Okay.
Thank you. Julie Atwell, I'm correct in saying that we have to have at least 2 selectmen physically, or can we have 1 physically and 1 remote in order to have a legal meeting?
COVID
Let me
rules.
look at the RSA quickly.
Thank you.
COVID rules, do whatever you want. Right?
No, I wish.
COVID emergency.
I think if, I don't know. I think if we have 1 person present at the meeting and 1 remote, we should be okay, Frank, but I'll let you know.
Yeah, I would hope so. I mean, these are extraordinary circumstances.
Yeah.
Living down here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I got a stuffed animal we can put in.
John's
His seat.
John's seat there.
It looks like you might be able to do it. I'm going to forward you the email.
That's okay. I'm going to go with your judgment, and we'll go from here. So I'm going to call the meeting to order at 3:33. Frank, the first thing on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. So if everyone doesn't mind facing the flag there, and I will start off. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And the camera set back here. All right. Frank, did you get a chance to review the minutes from the December 28th meeting?
Yeah.
Any questions,
Yes, I
comments?
did. No, they're all fine.
Then I will make a motion to approve the minutes from the December 28th Selectmen's meeting.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I'll let you sign those when you come back in the office next time. And then we had a non-public meeting according to RSA 91-3A. Let me start again. RSA 91-A:32A, and we are going to keep those minutes sealed. So I will take a motion to approve those minutes and keep them sealed.
I'm gonna make a motion, we keep those minutes sealed.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the first thing,
Barb, I just sent you a text.
okay, thank you. Okay, so because this is an emergency due to COVID circumstances and Frank cannot be present for the meeting, but I am present and masked, then we are holding the meeting with limited in-person ability, but we are all in attendance virtually. So that's why we're having the meeting this way.
Good.
Thanks, Frank. Is that sufficient, Julie? I think we're good, right? And Willis, you just popped on the line, and that's just in time because you're up for your discussion on the town meeting. Willis, are you able to chat?
Would you mute him too?
No, there you go. Willis, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hello there.
Can you see me?
I can't see you, but I can hear you, so that's important enough. So you wanted to have a discussion about the town meeting date and your thoughts on that.
Well, I just wanted to get the selectmen's thoughts and, anybody else. I've had several people ask, are we having the whole COVID thing? And I just wanted to weigh in. You may or may not know, I and 40 some odd other moderators in the state have tried to get some direction from the state, which we have none. They have not weighed in on anything whatsoever. And the only regulation, the only thing that can cause a postponement of that meeting is a weather-related item that meets specific requirements. Last year, we were able to operate under the Emergency Powers Act that Governor Sununu enacted, but that's expired.
Right.
I just want to get your thoughts, and I'm sure maybe you had some questions, and that was just where I was at.
Well, so I don't think we can change the date because there's no emergency order, as you stated. As far as location, I think the Whitney Center is still our best option, and having a remote or a virtual option is definitely possible. I was chatting a little bit with Hank Benish before the meeting about what we could do logistically to make sure that the public has access to public opinion and questions and participation. And so I think that's something we need to start strategizing now and make sure that sound is good, that sound quality is good, that people can have interaction and work on that dynamic. The other big thing, though, of course, is if we have any votes to be, for any articles or ballot votes that we need to have, and how we would facilitate that. And I'm not sure about that, or if you have any thoughts on that.
Well, that creates a real logistical problem. We're kind of waiting to see talking about the fire station committee. The selectmen have not made any decision that I'm aware of yet. And if we were to have a bond vote, that would require a 1-hour open ballot session.
Right.
Which gets very confusing if you don't have a public meeting and an open meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we just had the changing of the guard in the Secretary of State's office last week.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Gardner to Dave Scanlon, and they're kind of, they really go, I don't think the left hand and the right hand are ready to know what's going on there.
So I think that's my main concern. I think we can work out logistics of sound and attendance, etc. But if I had to task you with something, I would think it would be, how do you handle a ballot vote at the town meeting and go from there. So I don't know that we can make any other decisions today.
Well, I don't think, and I wasn't, I wanted to weigh in. We still have some time on, as far as if the selectmen do elect to put this on the warrant and have a bond hearing, we have time to warn that meeting. I just wanted to get things started, to get
Yep.
some thoughts.
Yep, it's good.
There's no way anybody can decide anything today. And who knows, maybe in the next several days, the state may weigh in with some guidance as to what we can do.
Right. We do have the benefit of having a select meeting for the next 3 weeks. So we have one today, we have one next Tuesday, and the Tuesday after that. So as things come up, it's just because of budgeting and budget hearings and stuff. So that may be a little advantageous to us. So I'm sure you'll keep us up to date, and then as we have meetings, we'll decide if there are any other.
It was more
factors.
of getting it on everybody's mind.
Yep.
Like I said, there are people out there that are asking, I really can't give them any answers. And I want to just let everybody start thinking about that. That's all.
Sounds good.
When you say, Billy, they're asking, can we have another beautiful day in May like we did last year?
I've had a few people ask about that. I've had a few people say, how is that going to be handled if the COVID situation escalates in general? It's just kind of open, comments, discussions, nothing formal, no specific requests, but it's enough so that I wanted to bring you up to speed as to where I was at and where some of the people are, and I'm sure you may have had questions yourself. Again, it was more of just planting the seed in everybody's mind that there may or may not be an issue out there at all. I don't know where you're at. You as a selectman may decide this is not the year to put that on the warrant.
We're getting a little off track here. So we'll be discussing that shortly. Say that again, Frank?
I mean, you've been moderator. I'm sorry, can I ask a question?
Yeah,
okay.
Go ahead.
So, Billy, you've been a moderator for a long time. We all know that. And you know what the hell you're doing. What's your opinion? What do you think? How would you handle it? What would you want to do?
Well, there's so much misinformation out there. I personally think that if this thing is starting to peak and go the other direction, I think that there is a way to handle a meeting with social distancing. I believe the school board has a policy to wear masks on school grounds and things of that nature. So with those kind of situations, I think it could be done. To be totally honest with you, Frank, I asked this last year. It was such a really good success to have it in May outside under 10. With this whole COVID thing, my personal opinion is that would be a great thing to do.
Okay, guys, I'm
That
gonna.
delays money. That delays decisions.
Right, but we also can't make that change because there's no state of emergency. So let's not even go that direction until we have that as an option. So. Okay.
All right. Again, I just wanted to discuss.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
That's all I had.
No, that's okay. I appreciate it. I just want to stay on track because we have a few things on the agenda, and then as we hear things more from the state to give us guidance, then we'll see if we have any other options.
Okay, that's good for me.
Sorry, this is my first day out in a while. I'm kind of cranky. No comments necessary, please. I'll open for public comment later. Okay, guys, thanks a lot. I appreciate it, Willis, and I know you'll keep us up to date.
Thank you.
Any other public comment on the town meeting? All right, thanks, guys. Yeah?
I'm just going to ask this. If we were to, I know we're going to have it, and let's just say it's going to be in March, like it always is.
Yeah.
We would have to limit the amount of people in the hall. Does it work that way? Would we have to?
I don't know that answer. I think that when we did it 2 years ago in Whitney Center, we had chairs of 2 and then some feet apart, but we had there's some calculated limitation of how many people we had in the meeting. So I think I'll leave that up a to-be-determined question.
Yeah, if I can answer that quickly, I mean, the school district does control the facility there, so that would be something we'd have to coordinate with them as to what their policies are, regardless, so.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm going to move on to the fire station update. So back at 2 meetings ago, we had the discussion about the fire station, and it was obviously a large number that came out in the discussion, about $5.7 million, and the warrant article on whether or not we wanted to put that on the agenda. And Frank, we put it off because the three of us had talked about it, we had some questions and wanted to have more discussion about it. And here we are 2 to 3 weeks later with 2 selectmen on the call, and I know you know how I feel about it. And so we really do need to make a decision on whether or not to have a warrant article for the fire station. And so what are your thoughts?
Well, if I could kind of direct, if you don't mind, my conversation towards the chief.
Yes, he's sitting right here.
Henry, and because I had, Chief, you there, Jay? You hear me?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Okay, well, you know, my opinion is pretty well known, and, you know, I've said, you know, you can support your fire department, not necessarily a new fire station. That's 3 times for anybody who's counting, but I do believe, you know, you have to do something at least to fit the new fire engine. We know that there's got to be some work, and I think that we're going to do that. But I also think that spending $5.7 million in one department, and I've said all this before, when we have other needs, school and just, you know, all our departments, whatever the future might bring. So I kind of like to see us, you know, have and a question's coming, Jay, in a second, okay? But I'd like to see us have sort of a holistic approach to this thing, and with potential capital improvements before we make such a large investment in one department. And as far as the municipal idea or plan, maybe Jerry Dougherty, if he's there, if he's around to talk to that. If not, well, we can get to that some other time. But
He had to go
for the
to,
last 7 or 8 months, again, I'm getting your question, Dave. You know, just sort of thinking about this. And over the last 7 or 8 months, I never really once heard any report from what you folks were doing there, and then suddenly, several weeks ago, bam, the guy showed up and said, this is an idea that we have. And so my question is that the fire station committee, you had a meeting, and I'm assuming, I know you had a vote, all right? And as I understand it, the vote wasn't unanimous. But it was the majority who wanted a new fire station. So you're the chief, and I always want to know what the chief thinks. And perhaps you can tell the public just how you voted, and what your thoughts are on this at this point in time. With all of what I said about my feelings about maybe we should be doing a greater study of what our needs are in capital improvements for the town.
so,
That's
as you said, the committee voted to make a recommendation to the selectmen to put it on the warrant. And yes, you are correct. My vote was to inform the selectmen of what we found in the study. My vote was not to recommend it go on the warrant this year. It was kind of to update the selectmen on what we found and what was going on. And that's pretty much the short story of what my thoughts were on that.
I appreciate that, Chief. Is Jerry Dougherty there?
No.
He had a school board meeting.
Peter Benson is here, and he wouldn't mind talking. Do you mind coming up to the front here? So,
well, it's a curious thing because, you know, it's not like we've been working in behind closed doors in the dark. Frank, if you really wanted more information, we had open houses, we had public information sessions. All our meetings were open to the public. All you had to do was ask. And I think to say that, you know, you didn't know what was going on, and this was just for us before you, I think is a little disingenuous. We've been working at this for 2 years. We have a selectman's representative on the committee. So if there was lack of information about the fire station study, it was really on your part, because the information was out there. This is a group of volunteers who worked pretty hard, met just about monthly. So to say it was a surprise, I don't think is quite accurate. We probably could have done a better job.
Hold on one second, Frank. Go ahead.
Wait, I'm not asking the question. I guess I thought it was going to be maybe, we were going to hear of updates as we went along. There were some rumors, Peter. It was going to be 3 million, it was going to be 4 million, it was going to be 5 million. I think the former fire chief said sticker shock when it finally came to 5.7 million. Okay? But, I'm not going after the process as much as I wanted to know what our fire chief felt about this, and he voted not to go ahead with this, at least this year. And then I'm proposing that we should be looking at looking at the town in a more organic, holistic way about the needs that we have in terms of buildings and capital infrastructure. And so that's where I'm coming. But I realize you folks did an awful lot of work, and I'm not saying anything bad about that, and I appreciate it all. But there wasn't a lot of information, and again, sure, I might have asked and found out. Maybe I was afraid to ask, I don't know. But I do know that the numbers and the rumors of the numbers were kind of frightening, and then finally we get 5.7 million, and someone said sticker shock, and that's what I think we all had, sticker shock. And I think the Conway Diddley son said sticker shock.
Yeah.
So,
I won't disagree with you about the number. There isn't anybody who's thrilled about the number. But just as a reminder, and then I'll sit down and shut up, we were tasked, this committee was tasked to look at a fire station. It was not tasked to look at something else. If you're going to, I think it's fine if you're going to go back to the drawing board and look at something else, but that's not, we completed our work was done, and it was presented to you all. If you decide, I think it's going to be a challenge to do, it's a challenge to put a bond out in a normal year. It's going to be even more challenged this year if it's a hybrid meeting. I don't even know how that's going to work.
Yeah.
So simply from a logistics standpoint, I don't know if we could effectively have a bond vote. That's probably more up to the moderator to decide and the selectmen to decide. But I think what I would hope that if this does not get put on, that the selectmen will quickly move to think about what really needs to happen, because I will say time is not on our side on that building. It may look like it is, but it's not. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Peter. Jay?
The one thing that I want to say is if it gets put on hold, then I do, and we need, the selectmen want to talk about seeing what town-wide capital expenditures and all that, then I'm okay with that. But I want to see scheduled capital meetings to discuss it with the school board and with whoever's involved in that. I definitely don't want to see things tabled or put off. Like, I want to see a date with, March, whatever, we're gonna have a capital plan, because it's just gonna end up dragging out and getting put off.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for that. I appreciate it. So, Frank, where do you stand on putting this on the ballot this year then?
I think it's premature. I think it's premature, and I do believe that we really have to look at all our capital improvement needs and study this. And I go along with Dave, the idea that we're not going to let it drop, because we do have some needs. I think, as I understand, the school has some plans, and that's another $2.5 million perhaps. And this is a 5.7 million. So we have to figure out how we're going to allocate all this money and not hurt the taxpayers. Okay, so I really think that we should take a closer look at it, notwithstanding all the good work you guys did. Okay, you came up with something there, but it all of a sudden dawned on me, said, wait a minute now, that much money, one department, let's look at all our needs and see how we can reach all our needs. Now, there are some things that I know, according to Jay, that could be done to that fire department, a retrofit to push out the back and make room for our new $700,000 fire engine that we're buying this year. Okay, you can also put a sprinkler system in there. It wouldn't cost $75,000, $100,000. There's just a couple of ideas. But again, let's slow this down a little bit and see where we're going. And our needs are in total to the town. So that's as much as I can say. I think I'm
Okay.
repeating myself.
Okay.
Sorry.
Jay?
So, the other thing I wanna, I guess, ask, or all three selectmen's not here, but is if we table it, we probably should consider some immediate repairs to the building. There's
Okay.
some electrical
Yep.
stuff
Yep.
that has been put off for 3 years that we've been, because we have been studying this for 3 years, more than 2. That's been put off for 3 years. So there are some immediate needs that we might want to consider budgeting for in building maintenance.
Okay.
So I don't know if this is the time and place to discuss that, or if you want to wait till the first budget meeting and
Yeah,
discuss
we'll have
that
to
there.
wait for that meeting, I'm sure. So, so Frank, I'm hearing from you that you are not in favor of putting this on the ballot,
That's right.
and I am in favor, so being that we don't have a majority vote, I don't know if we need to have John as a tiebreaker and find out and put this on for next meeting, or what your thoughts are. Julie,
Sorry,
any
Julie.
thoughts on that?
She was.
I'm not quite sure how
Okay.
that works.
All right. What, Jay?
I thought we were on a little bit, I thought we were coming down to a time
We are.
delay with
The
printing the
bond
town
hearing.
report.
Yeah.
But maybe Billy can answer whether a bond vote, what the minimum the bond vote can be put up, when the minimum time frame for the bond vote can
Yeah, Billy,
actually
what's
be
our
put.
deadline on that?
I don't have those notes in front of me, but you have to warn it. As far as a bond hearing, that kind of is a whole separate hearing process than your budget committee type hearings. It was no earlier than 60 days, and I believe no less than 14 days
Right.
prior to the bond vote, with 7 days notice of that prior to that date. So
So-
it's 14 days is our deadline. Theoretically, 3 weeks prior to a bond hearing.
So it'd be
The
like,
bond hearing has to be, obviously, it's a day in February. I don't have it right in front of me.
yeah, I know what you're saying. It's like mid to late February based on
Yeah,
March
so there is
15th
time
date.
to do something, and the other thing I'd like to say on that, all a bond vote would do is it would authorize the selectmen to negotiate to buy a bond.
Right,
And there's a long time frame that you have before you pull the trigger on that, like 2 years to 5 years,
Yep.
depending on how you do it. So the fact that you get authorization, that's all you get. You don't have to go out March 20th and buy a bond.
right.
So
more, that deadline is achievable. The other deadline
Yes.
is making sure that we have enough time to have it on in the budget and on the ballot.
yes.
Okay. In that case, I'm going to table this until we can have a majority vote next select meeting with John available, and say that if John is not available, or if 3 selectmen are not available at the next select meeting, then it will go as 1-to-1 and it will not be voted on. Does that make sense, Frank?
Yeah, I know, is it all right for me to ask you a question?
Sure.
I'm not sure, in view of some of the things that I said about this idea, too much money in one department, and we do have other needs, and we should look at a broader approach to our municipal capital improvements. Why would you want to do that?
It's not that I don't want to do it. That is a huge undertaking. And while we had this committee, we did talk about the municipal campus. We talked about the needs of the police department and ambulance. We talked about how large scale we can go. We kept in mind, with Jerry Doherty being on the committee for the fire station and being the president of the school board, we sort of kept in mind that the school was going to be putting something forward as well. But as Peter said, time is not our friend right now, and you may think the fire station can be sort of band-aided a little bit more, like we've been doing for many decades now. And that's not my opinion with all the research that we've done. So I'm not opposed to a capital plan. I just think that's a really large committee, and we'll spend at least 2 years coming up with a large capital plan. So that's the standpoint on that. But as far as Jackson goes, we're a really strong town when it comes to planning for capital. And you'll see on the end of this this agenda today, we have a truck disbursement that we have the funds for. So we're a very planning conscious town. But
Right, absolutely, but our fire chief just said that he doesn't want it on the ballot this year. He just said that there's not a need for that now.
yep,
Okay, he's our fire chief.
yep,
I'm gonna listen to our fire chief more than anybody.
right,
Okay, and the former fire chief called it sticker shock. I'm gonna listen to him too.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, I just want to make sure, because it's not just between you and I want to make sure the public hears what we're talking about, because this is
Right.
all recorded, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So everything here will be heard, and let the people ultimately will decide whether it becomes 2-1 for, or 2-1 against, because you played your hand and I played my hand.
right.
So we'll just have to-
Unfortunately, the public won't get a chance to really voice their opinion, because we've had this on the agenda multiple times over the past year and have really not heard from anyone else from the public. So I was really hoping to get it as a warrant article to see how the public would vote on it, because if we don't have it this year, then we're going to be looking one more year down the road, which means we'll be looking at a new fire station possibly in 3 years to 5 years instead of 2 to 4 years. So it's disappointing to not have the support of the fire chief. It's definitely disappointing to me because of all the hard work I feel like we substantiated, but you know, that's just my personal opinion.
Okay.
Barbara, can I make a comment, Barbara?
Hold on just a second, Willis, hold on. Frank, were you gonna say something else?
So I said fair enough, Laura.
Okay, Willis?
Well, I just want to say something. I've been doing a little bit of research, not formally, but informally. But just the one thing I'd like Frank specifically to think about. I know where we don't know where John stands, but we have a $5.7 million price tag. That was derived by the architecture firm that had a professional estimating company out of Maine do the estimate. A fair amount of us on the committee are very aware that there's probably a 30% inflation number built into that 5.7. I personally happen to think that if we built that building, if we had a bondage, we put that building up with the economic climate that we're in now, within the next year, it'd be a year getting in that process, we probably could bring that in around the $4 million.
Right,
I just want you to be aware.
Yeah.
The time, to answer my point, Barbara, is what I see the bond issue doing is giving you the ability to do it and not have it delayed 3 to 5 years, but at the same time, there's no reason that the committee can't start pushing and working and refining and getting that number to where this inflationary market that we all know at some point going to burst and come back a little bit. That's
Right.
something that people should hear. It gives you, the selectmen, a time frame if you do put it on.
right.
I just want that out there.
No, I appreciate that as well, because yes, we did have a much higher number than we thought we were gonna have, but that's the number we had to present based on
Right.
our documentation. So of course, we always hope it will come in lower than, and not just a little lower, but substantially lower. If we could have put this out at $4 million, I don't know if Frank would have felt any different than what we put it out at with 5.7. So we don't get the luxury of having that option, I guess, but I appreciate you pointing that out.
Under 3, under 4, under 3, under 4, under 6, the same group, but like you
Yeah,
said.
yep.
We'll let the process play out.
Okay, Jay, one more comment?
Yeah, I just the biggest reason why I didn't want to put it on the warrant this year is I don't feel the selectmen have got enough information as a group of 3 of them. John came to 1 public meeting. Frank didn't come to any public meetings. So that I just wanted to put it out there that it's not that I'm against it happening, or even, I just feel is we're basically not ready to put it on the warrant. You know, we need selectmen support to make this happen.
Agreed.
We do not have selectmen support. So
Well-
to ask for a $6 million thing this year, and I'm gonna give you an example, and I've said this before. North Conway Fire Department, they worked on this study for 9 years. We are not ready, that's my opinion, it's a
Yep.
different opinion, but, and as a committee member, I went along with what the committee voted.
No, you didn't. You didn't vote for it.
I didn't,
Yeah, so you didn't go along.
but we're
Okay.
not ready for it. So,
All right.
so it is what it is. You can
So,
dislike my opinion.
We will take the 1-to-1 vote to the next meeting to be continued, and it will either go down as not going to be on there, or if, I'll leave it up to John. So, thank you everyone for your input, and next agenda item. So we have the Valley Crossroad Bridge. Burr Phillips, hello, how are you today? And Steve Langdon is on the call as well.
Yeah.
Hi, Steve.
You want the quick rundown? Or
Yes, please, quick rundown.
So I think the way we left it last time was there was, on the Valley Crossroad Bridge, we have to do mitigation. And there they'd come up with 3 options. One was just to do an interpretive display and sort of store the trusses for 5 or 10 years in case somebody wants to use them in the future. And the other one was just to move the trusses over to somewhere else in town and put them on display. Restore them and put them on display. And then the third option was, the original option way back when, was to put them back on the bridge and keep the bridge kind of looking like it's always looked, which worked from a couple of perspectives, I guess. But it's the more costly option there. The first option was one that we weren't sure if the regulatory agencies were going to go along with it or not. Right? The trusses are totally eligible for the National Register of Historic Places and Bridges, and these are the only trusses of that style. So we weren't sure if they're going to go along with it. I guess the bottom line is, at this point, we just need to make a decision which option we want to move forward with the Steve and his consultants can submit to the application. On the next DOT meeting and get that hurdle sort of behind us so we can go out to bid for the project.
Right.
We've got the item there.
And then go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say, as far as the cost go, I think it was roughly $14,000 to $15,000 of town money spent on putting them back on the bridge.
Right.
That town has to put in 20%. It's really $73,000, something along those numbers. For the town, it was like $14,000 or $15,000. The one just to move the trusses to Happy Medium, put them somewhere else in town was like a 10 or.
Did I lose everybody?
No, you're here, Frank.
And then.
No. Hello?
And then the first option was like $4,500 to do the interpretive display. So,
Right.
So the money you're talking about is between kind of 5 and 15, call it $5,000 to $15,000 is the range of money depending on which option you're.
And then just a little history about the vote we had 2 town meetings ago, when we voted against spending $45,000 on the trusses to put them back on the bridge. That was voted on and voted down, but this is a totally different circumstance, so I just want to make sure that clarification is made, that this is a totally different issue, clarification, that we're not talking about anything the same. It's not the same at all as what was voted against at town meeting. So that being said, it seems to me, my opinion, the best option, and Frank, I'll ask for yours after, is to put the trusses back on the bridge. To store them is a lot of physical and logistic work. The cost to the town to keep them on the bridge is not that large, and it's certainly not close to $45,000. And I think it just means a lot of historical value after learning what these trusses mean and what they represent. Frank, what are your thoughts?
Barbara, I'm glad to say that I agree with you 100%. You said it all.
Yay! Now I know John said that he climbed on them as a kid and he would have gotten hurt on them, but we're just going to have to learn how to keep John off the trusses if they do go back on the bridge, so.
I think it's great.
Yeah, I think historically for the town, I know as a kid coming up here and going over Thunder Bridge and seeing those trusses, who doesn't have a million pictures of it? And so, Burr, I think we have the original drawings with the trusses included, and it still has the step out for the people to take pictures, etc. So I think if we can use that proposed drawing and go from there, does that sound logical?
Yeah, I think Steve's gonna go back and kind of modify the drawings back to what they were, but that's part of that additional cost.
Yeah, actually, I would like to add one little thing about that is originally, of course, before, when we think about putting the trusses back on the bridge, that was before the pilasters and some of this other stone veneer. We always had stone veneer, maybe just in the abutments, but the new version would actually include, like you said, wider elliptical sidewalk that gets wider as you get to the midspan, and still maintain the pilasters with the stone veneer and the trusses. So the wind walls have to kick out a little bit, and the abutment has to widen a little bit, but just small amounts.
Okay.
The other, if I can add one more thing, I think you
Sure.
might steal, or I'm gonna steal Steve's thunder there, but there is a loose plate grant, which I think his consultant would put the application together, and there's potential to get $10,000 from loose plate grant to put those things on. So if we want to do that, we can have them submit the application, and maybe the $15,000 or $15,000 drops down to $4,000 or $5,000. It seems like it's a no lose situation.
That sounds great. That sounds
It seems
great.
like a tailor-made option for this, for the loose grant. It seems like that's the perfect case for them to, I think it'd be strongly considered for I don't know if it would be the full $10,000, but what the level that would be, but I think it's a very good candidate to receive a grant for sure.
And tell me the name of the grant again?
It's the moose plate grant. You've seen moose plates?
Yeah, I've got it. Yep, I have one. Yep.
Yeah, there you go. You
Okay.
contribute to it. So that's what they do is that there's this wide range of different things they have grants for, and one of them is structures. And I did research on this a long time ago. Actually, just looked again today just to confirm, and everything's still the same.
Perfect.
And it goes up to $10,000 for things like historical structures.
All right. Well, I would assume that we have to have a motion then to move forward with the option of containing the trusses on the bridge and moving forward with that plan. So Frank, do you want to make that motion?
I would be glad to make that motion, and we keep the trusses and keep the old bridge looking the way it did, but it's going to be a better bridge in the end. I think it's great.
I will second that motion. All in favor? Aye. Anne, are you smiling? Yes, she's giving me the thumbs up. Yay! I will be happy if the only time we have to talk about the trusses is when we have a grand opening of the new bridge and we can all have our pictures taken with the trusses. But thank you so much for all of your input and your work. I think that's awesome. And we'll have a no climbing sign put on there. Say that again?
Never mind.
I was going to say we'll have to put a no climbing on the bridge sign just for John. So.
I was saying, hold the selectmen's meeting at the bridge.
Oh, there you go. Perfect. All right, Burr and Steve, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Frank, did you have a comment?
No, I thought first idea was a good idea.
Yeah.
It probably won't happen. Anyway.
All right, thank you.
One little related topic is I think Julian's working on the warrant article, because I think the last few years they put in like 85,000
Yeah.
like that per year in towards that bridge. I think just roughly the number.
Yes.
So I think Steve gonna probably take a look and just see how much is needed for this year. But my thought was maybe you want to think about wording that article so that if there's excess funds that could be used towards other bridges, because that Dungy Road bridge over Millbrook, I think you've seen it, it's in pretty tough shape. And that's not going to get funding until 2026 at best, 2026. So you might need to do some repairs over there in the meantime. So if you got extra money left over at the end of this thing, it'd be nice to be able to do some interim repairs. Another night.
Extra money is always a
Can I-
wonderful thing.
Barbara?
Yes, go ahead, Frank.
Is there any infrastructure money available for bridge? I mean, we're hearing about bridges all across the country, small and large and in between. Is that anything we could get, or is that just too much of a process?
For the Dundee Road?
Yeah.
Well, I talked to DOT about it, and they said, no, not unless it's on this red list.
Red list?
Red list. And that's going, this bridge will be added to that red list, I don't know, in the next couple of months. And then the new applications to apply for that federal funding open up this summer. And then because the existing they're actually backlogged till 2029.
Right.
So both of the
Crazy.
new infrastructure act, federal infrastructure act, that's gonna take 3 years off that backlog and we'll be back to like 2026.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay.
fortunately, there's no money there right now for these temporary repairs, or repairs, it's something we're gonna do on our own.
All right, well, yeah, Steve, if you could work with Julie Atwell on the budgetary numbers, that would be fantastic.
I will, actually, I already started, but I didn't have time to finish before the meeting.
We can let you go now.
I just
No, I'm
have
kidding.
about an hour.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much, guys.
Thank you all, appreciate it.
All right, so moving on to the Jackson Highlands town property. Andy Dean is here and Matthew Falconeri is also on the call here.
Hello.
But Frank, I actually wanted to make sure that you have all of the information that, the emails, et cetera, about
I
this.
think I feel I have a general sense of what's going on, although I come into this a little bit late, okay, but that's okay.
Okay, well, in that case, though, let me have Andy give a quick rundown and revisit this, if you would,
Sure.
Andy.
Sure, so Matthew Falconeri is the owner of property right off of Jackson Highlands Road. There's a piece of town land that's undevelopable, that has some wetlands on it, that is in between his lot and Jackson Highlands Road. He had talked to the town last year about trying to purchase it. They informed him you'd have to go through the warrant process.
Right.
So he went and had a appraisal done of the property. I know the town is in the process of doing their appraisal, it might be completed. So in the interim, I drafted a warrant article for the select board to adopt. And all it says is the town is authorized to sell this land to Matthew at a commercially reasonable price determined by the town based upon a delivery of a written appraisal. The way it gives everyone some flexibility, we're not tying it to an exact number. The town can go through that process. So I circulated that in December, just the language that we would propose that the select board adopt to put on the warrant.
Okay.
Matthew's intent with the property is actually just put a driveway through to Jackson Highlands Road. He has the ability to put a driveway off of Maple Bush Road. The problem is the driveway is a lot longer. It goes
Yeah.
through a bunch of forest that he actually likes to preserve in its natural state. And
Right.
so we're just asking the select board to adopt that warrant.
Okay. And Frank, you had a question prior to this as far as why we didn't just grant an easement to the property? And,
Yeah, I was just wondering about that, because that was suggested by somebody with the town government. I'm just asking those questions.
I think Kevin Bennett raised that question a while back when we first started talking about this. And one of the reasons we said we weren't thrilled about that is just to get the property off of the town books too, because there really wasn't a benefit to us having this town, these two slivers of property on the town books and not have the tax roll for it. So that was one question and answer that we had a while ago. I think that, in my opinion, the warrant article makes sense. As far as the value, we need to know tonight what the value would be on this. I believe that the assessed value for the two parcels put together is $32,000. So one is at $15,500 and the other is at $16,500.
That's my understanding.
And I believe that your initial offer was up to $20,000.
Correct. That's
So-
what the real estate appraisal came at.
Right. So, Frank, thoughts on that?
It sounds to me like you've done your homework on this. I don't see any problem with that. Now, what he's doing with this land, will it be used in any other way but for a driveway? Can it be? I'm just curious about it, that's all.
No, it can't be anyway, just because there's wetlands on a portion of the property, and it's otherwise undevelopable. That Matthew's on Zoom and he can confirm it. He's just
Yeah.
using it for a driveway.
Yeah,
And also you said about not disrupting a really kind of nice piece of forest we got there, you know?
Right.
So to me, it sounds like, I think it sounds like a good idea.
yeah, and again, that question was asked of Matthew back in the day because our concern was, you know, are you gonna use it and split it up into 2 properties and do a short-term rental or blah, blah, blah. And there's not, Matthew, you can definitely speak to that again.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay, yes, sincerely, my only intent with this is simply to traverse horizontally across the parcel and get to the home site versus coming down off Maple Bush. There's a gorgeous old growth spruce forest back there. We meet the proper grades and everything, or you know what the town would want to see for a driveway pitch, but it wouldn't be ideal. The 2 parcels are so narrow, you know, even merging them with these properties, they give me no benefit other than simply the driveway. They don't like put me over a threshold of square footage to do anything else. There's a lot of wetlands actually on the parcels. They're not overly desirable other than for a driveway to get to this parcel. And that's my only intent.
thank you.
And then I don't, just let me also clarify, I actually don't even need both of them. I'm open to whatever. I need access across the upper. If you see it, the benefit of the town to part with both, that's fine by me. If you see the benefit to be an easement, that's fine by me. Again, if you want to sell them, that's fine. I just would love access across.
Yeah. So is there a possibility to merge these lands with the existing lots, and does that benefit either party? I guess here's where I'm heading on this. You're stating on the record that this is your full intent. We can't really do any, or maybe we can do a deed restriction that says you promise not to do anything with it other than build a driveway. I mean, I don't know if I want to go that direction. I want to trust that you're not doing that, but does it make sense to merge these 2 parcels, or?
Yeah, I mean, he could, after he obtains ownership, and just merge it, and so now he's the sole owner. I suppose if you wanted to protect it, you could say they have to be distinct parcels and will not be merged, because those 2 town lands in and of itself can't be used for anything.
Yeah.
But Matthew is right, is merging them or having them count as part of his overall parcel doesn't give him any other rights or benefits.
Okay. Well, yeah, okay. Peter?
Just a quick question. Is this gonna go through legal review with town council?
Absolutely. It already has a lot have gone through that, but it will finally, so it's going on the warrant article, or we're voting to put it on the warrant article today, and Peter has definitely weighed in on that part of it. The value is really the one figure that we have up in the air tonight. So, like we said, the assessed value is $32,000, and we talked to our tax assessor on that, and $20,000 was the max that you had. So I would like to ask that we can meet in the middle on that at $26,000. And Matt, I don't know if you have.
I don't want to answer that.
I'll amend it.
Okay.
That's fine.
Frank, any thoughts?
I'm amenable to, you just mentioned one thing though, that so maybe it's a concern of yours or not, but as far as a deed restriction, could something like that be in place? Otherwise, I think this is fine, and you know, we want to try and help our people who live here and make things a little bit easier, and it's easier for the fire department and emergency vehicles and all of it. This driver will do. So that's my question. I mean, you know.
Any opposition to a deed restriction?
Yeah.
I think I would have to defer to Andy. That's probably above my pay grade in regards to the legal implications of that.
Yeah, no, right. No, I don't think it was an issue. It would just mean that that land can't be used for anything other than a driveway.
Okay.
And then, Matt, are you going to be running any utilities on, like around that driveway or adjacent to the driveway? I don't know if you're putting, I know you're
Like
gonna
a light
eventually build
post.
a house, right? So if you have electrical,
No light posts, but that's where the power service would
Okay.
come in from the street. So driveway and power access.
Okay,
okay, I
So-
think that's reasonable.
all right. So if we,
Can I interrupt a second?
oh, go ahead, Burr.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw out, you might want to reserve a strip along the road, the existing road, maybe 10 or 15 feet wide or something like that, for future drainage and grading easements. So if you ever redo something on the road in the future, then you don't have to go back and negotiate an easement with whoever the landowner is at that time.
Isn't
So
there a
it might be-
15-foot setback already for our driveways?
Excuse me?
Is there a 15-foot requirement, 15-foot setback requirement already on our driveway permit?
Yeah, that's from like, that's primarily from a property line that's perpendicular to the road, right? So, I mean,
Okay.
you have, obviously gonna have to cut across from the road, across the right of way into it. But the right of way is, I think, pretty narrow on that stretch of road. So,
Okay.
so if you did have to do drainage or grading or utility changes along, along the road in the future, it might be good to have a little elbow room to do that work in the future or
Sound
something like
good.
that. So if you reserve the strip, it probably doesn't impact what he's gonna do.
Okay.
But I think to avoid some headaches down the road.
Okay.
I am looking at a plan that HEB did, and it looks like there's like a pretty large shoulder, like a road layout or something, setback beyond the pavement.
Okay.
But you guys can look at that. I don't care either way.
Yeah, we might as well put it in just to be safe.
Yeah, I was just that, I think that's a good future plan,
Yep.
yeah. All right,
And
so,
the-
go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think that was, I think I was gonna just say on the boundary, on the, merging the lots, that's just the one planning board meeting to do it. The advantage of merging lots is that if you don't merge it, there are setbacks to that property line.
Yeah,
So his house or whatever house will need to be set back. They don't merge the lots, set back 25 feet each side of that property line. So usually people would merge those just to clean up all those setbacks, not create a headache.
well, that's definitely above my pay grade, so you guys can do it.
Yeah, I mean, the merger is.
Okay, good. Yeah. All right, so, first things first, Frank, I'm gonna make a motion that we put a warrant article on this year's ballot for selling the property to Matthew Falconeri for $26,000, and the wording will be finalized by the next meeting,
I can send it before the next meeting.
okay? Would you like to second that, Frank?
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. If you have any questions, let me know, Julie. The sooner you can get that to her, the better. And then you guys can work out paperwork as far as merging properties, setbacks, etc.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Appreciate
Great.
it.
Thank you all for your time.
Very nice. Welcome to
Thank you.
Jackson. Welcome to
We've been
Jackson.
here since 81.
Welcome to Jackson on your driveway.
Yeah.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks.
Okay, Emily Benson, COVID policy update, our other favorite topic.
Yeah. So you should receive the updated policy that
Yes.
Julie and I have worked on. Essentially, it was reflecting the changes that the CDC made to their guidance in isolation and quarantine from 10 days to 5 days. Going through it, we also changed some of the links at the very beginning that were referenced were outdated. The third link on there, the COVID-19 website, that just goes to the front page of the website so that we don't get into links that are expiring anyway,
Okay.
hopefully.
Yeah.
And then there were some recommendations from town council, and you got those changes. That was something that was out of my
Right,
realm.
as far as up to date on vaccinations, etc.
Well, the one statement for exposure that is through no fault of their own
Oh,
on the bullet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the fifth bullet item, and then at the end of that section, if an employee runs out of part-time or sick time, the selectmen would consider extending compensation on a case-by-case basis after the individual's benefits have been exhausted.
Okay,
But I think Julie was in touch with you all regarding that, so.
right.
I don't know if Julie had anything
Yep.
to say, or.
Julie, did you want to comment on anything else?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear everything you guys said.
Really, it was just going over the changes that Emily made on the links, and then changes that town council had recommended for the benefit portion of it, and then the part about a definition of a vaccinated employee who is one who is up to
Yep.
date on all vaccinations.
That's correct.
Frank, are you okay with this? Any questions?
Yes, thank you. Yes, yep.
Okay, I will make a motion to accept the revised January 18th, 2022 COVID-19 municipal employee guidelines and policies.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Miss Emily.
Thank you.
Appreciate all your hard work always, keeping us safe. All right, the next on our agenda is the agreement letter for the Pinkham rifle loan to the Historical Society. And this is the formal letter that we had discussed at the last meeting, so I'll read this into the minutes. Effective immediately, the George Pinkham rifle that was donated to the town shall be housed at the Jackson Historical Society in the Old Town Hall. The Jackson Historical Society will display the rifle and offer a better opportunity for this to be seen and appreciated in this setting. It is understood that this rifle remains town property and is only on loan to the Jackson Historical Society. The town of Jackson will continue to cover this rifle through town insurance. So thanks to everyone on this. It's really awesome to have something like this piece of history to be displayed, and I'm finishing the signature here, and we should be all set for legal and satisfied on that. Thanks, Anne. Thank you. The next is to accept a donation to the police department. So we received an anonymous donation of $1,000 to the police department, and we need to make a motion to accept that. Frank?
I'll be glad to make a motion with $1,000 from whoever it was. Thank you very much.
I will second that motion. All in favor? Aye. Congratulations, Chief. That's a very nice commendation to your department. It's a wonderful thing.
Thank you, Barb, and I'd like to thank the anonymous donor for being generous and thoughtful too. You know, we do our job for a lot of reasons, and you know, our oath and our commitment to the community, but it is really nice to be recognized. I just asked that the donation in her card that I think is attached to the donation, she said she wants to use it to offset expenses, and I'd ask that the $1,000 be transferred, if possible, to the equipment line, and then we'll just use it as we see fit.
Perfect. Thank you for confirming that.
Thank you.
All right, the next agenda item is for the trustees of the trust funds withdrawal, and this is withdrawal of $62,293 from the Highway Truck Capital Reserve Fund 0048 for a new truck. I'm sorry, it's actually a used truck that's being purchased for the highway department that Gary can use and add to the fleet. So I will take a motion to approve that withdrawal.
I will take a motion to approve the withdrawal of $2,000 plus for the new truck.
I will second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, and awesome deal. So you have some stuff to sign, Frank? Thank you, ladies, very much for coming. Thanks. Yes, Frank? Frank?
Just wanted to think you positive.
Yeah, he would have approved on that for sure. So, moving on to our short-term rental subjects, we have no new permits for this meeting. We may have a couple for the next meeting. There is a note here that says discussion on fireworks and noise ordinance regarding short-term rentals. don't know what that was for. Do you have any discussion on that? Because we do have the Ed Harvey complaint on pending, so I don't know if it was pertaining to that. Did you have anything else to discuss, Frank?
Only that apparently, our town attorney told us that, we really don't have anything to stand on in terms of that being an SDR violation, of fireworks being used there. It becomes a different matter, and I'll say that, we moved forward because Chief Hurley, went up there and there was a problem. And, he advised us, yeah, you should make that warning, but now our attorney is basically saying, well, it's not really part of the criteria of what you can't do when you have an SDR, but it is as far as that noise ordinance. So that's kind of what happened.
Right, and so I think we definitely need to make sure that we have clarification on when a complaint becomes a violation. And, because like we've said, we've accepted complaints before, but they don't necessarily end up serving as a violation. So, yeah, I think, again, that's just the logistics of what we work through and have to discuss more and we learn.
Barb, can I-
Yeah. Chief?
Barb and Frank, can I comment on that?
Yes.
Please do.
And as Frank pointed out, I was involved in the discussion about resolution for that complaint. And I definitely understand what Peter is saying. He's very learned and gives good advice. I think what he's saying is the short-term rental regulations are standalone regulations, and the noise fireworks ordinance are standalone regulations that get enforced. Those ordinances get enforced through the police. I could also see that if we discussed with Peter a fireworks violation, I think because of the way very learned attorneys analyze the problem, they may not factor in the noise associated with fireworks and say, well, fireworks doesn't mean it's a noisy, encumbrance on the neighborhood. He's thinking fireworks. So I definitely agree with him in the sense that we handle noise ordinances and we handle fireworks ordinance as we did in this case. And that I think you can operate under the components of the short-term rental that deal with disturbances, but there is no specific firework component to short-term rentals.
I'll agree with that. I think it's just a clarification. It's a learning process of what we have in the town as ordinances and making sure that we're very clear on those. So Frank, as a result of our input from our attorney, I don't think it's proper to move forward with a violation to Mr. Harvey on his property. Are you in agreement on that?
Well, I think what the chief just said too kind of added to that. Okay?
Yeah.
So we're, I agree with you that is not, I agree with you.
Okay.
I agree.
So that is actually, I skipped over one, but that's on the pending number 2 Harvey fireworks complaint. We will not be filing a violation against Mr. Harvey's property. And I see that you're on the phone. And did you have any comments you wanted to make, or are you good with that?
Oh, I'm good with that. I did, on the conversation that was more general and not necessarily my complaint. It came up in our first meeting, just a point of whatever can be charged or is, but in the case of snaps, it's just something that's definitely on there. I know Kevin Bennett had brought it up that it's in Jackson, but to have these snapping off, I banned them at my property. I didn't realize they were under the fireworks as allowed, but just something for the town to consider and how to manage that one. 5 in the afternoon, someone doing a lot of snaps. I get the complaint, but it's legal, so I'm laying my place.
Yep, so I appreciated your input as far as notification, and I hope that we're gonna improve that in the future when we do get any complaints. So I appreciate, like I said, this is such a learning process, even though you're years into it. I appreciate the fact that making sure that the owners are aware of any complaints that come in so that we can communicate and do things quickly and expeditiously and not have to have these drag out. So that's one thing. And then making sure that the good neighbor policy is as sufficient as we can keep it. And you as a short-term rental owner, doing your best job to make sure that you're renting to the best people, that they're aware of what the ordinances are, and that ignorance is not an excuse for doing anything illegal. And, you know, eventually you are accountable for your property. So I appreciate whatever you can do to educate and have the best tenants.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's done. No complaint, no motion necessary. Violation notice, there was a pending notice for Baker where they had a first warning letter, and they responded that they have changed their advertisement to a maximum of 8 people. So so we're set with that one. We don't have any new complaints, and there are 3 new building permits. So Kevin Bennett is not here. Chris, did you have a comment, or were you just waving goodbye?
No, I waved goodbye. I think that's all that I could contribute to.
Perfect. See you later then.
Asked to be dismissed.
You are dismissed, sir. Thank you very much. Okay, so Kevin Bennett is not here, so there are 3 new building permits, and I'm sure those are all to his satisfaction, or he would be here. No new driveway permits. And then, like I mentioned before, we have another meeting next Tuesday, which will also include the first budget hearing, and that will be live and via Zoom, 3:30, January 25th. Then we have a meeting Tuesday, February 1st, which is 2 weeks from today at 3:30, and that will be budget hearing number 2, and that will follow the Selectmen's meeting as well. We will have, Julie, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think we should have printed copies of the budget available before, in case anyone wants to get them and attend the meeting virtually, so they can have material in front of them. Is that correct?
Yes, we will have those available prior to the meeting.
Okay. And we can put out an e-news when they're available so people can access those. And then the next meeting after that will be Tuesday, February 22nd at 3:30. Does anyone have any public comment? All right. Oh, Ann? Yes.
I just wanted to thank the way the local economic trusts are absolutely thrilled.
I'm glad. Yeah, it took a long time to get around to that, though, didn't it? A couple of years.
It did, and all the better. So
yeah, sometimes things happen for a reason, I guess, right?
Good.
Thanks, Ann.
Sure, and I'm glad that Jackson will be, looked at upon as a place that preserves our history.
I have to tell you, I have a David Baker oil painting that was done, I don't know how many years ago, of that bridge with the trusses, and it's beautiful painting, so wonderful thing. Yeah. All right, so Frank, I believe we have a non-public to have, but Gary is not here, so are we going to still have that?
Well, what should we do?
I believe they might be outside.
Oh, okay, I will see if they're here. So Frank, what I'm going to do is take a motion to adjourn. Oh, come on in, guys, they're here. I will take a motion to adjourn and ask everyone else to leave the Zoom call. Frank, would you like to make a motion?
I will make a motion to adjourn the meeting of, was it January 18th? Is that where we're at?
And move into a non-public.
Move into a non-public, yeah.
I will second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, I have stopped the recording.
Recording